If you're looking for a structure for your Zettlekasten vault in Obsidian, but need some inspiration, then look no further. In this video, I'll show the different notes and systems I have in place in my Obsidian vault, including the plugins, templates, external programs, and practices I use to make the entire system work. Without any further ado, here's how I take smart notes in Obsidian. In the book, there's 4 main kinds of notes discussed: fleeting notes, literature notes, permanent notes, and project notes. Fleeting ideas are temporary reminders of information, and I categorize these notes I take for these ideas as either informational or actionable. To create my information or idea related fleeting notes, I tend to simply open the quick switcher, type the idea or topic, then press Shift and Enter to create it. In most cases, I tend to create notes for most ideas I think of, especially for more personal ideas. If it's a personal idea, I prefix the title with an equal sign to automatically import a template with extra prompts to spark reflection and elaboration. If the idea is more informational or objective, I just name it normally and will import the default note template I use. To organize these notes based on their developmental stages, I use the evergreen note system popularized by Andy Matsuchak. I probably butchered it, but it's whatever. In the status field of my note, I set the tag to a seedling if it's a bare bones idea, a herb if I could still use some expansion, a son if it's developed but is lacking connections to other ideas, or an evergreen note if it's finally finished. Not gonna lie, I haven't been consciously maintaining this system, so most of my notes have no status at all. The types of informational notes I make can widely vary, so I just use a simple template and add onto it depending on the situation. It's automated using Templater and my meta template from Brian Jenks' workflow video, which can be a bit complicated if you aren't into programming. But you can always manually import templates using plugins like Templater or QuickAdd. To make the most out of the interconnectedness Obsidian allows, spend some time thinking of relevant tags so it can be connected to the rest of your vault. Tags are for general topics it's related to, while links are for its hierarchical relations to bigger ideas like a traditional file structure. If the idea is something more actionable like a task, I tend to use lists to keep track of it. If it's something related to my vault or the contents of it, I've recently downloaded a reminders plugin to help me easily see some things I need to keep note of. To create a new reminder, simply create a task, write down what you want to be reminded of, then set the date for the reminder using the following syntax. Then, I can access it in the reminders pane in my sidebar. I find this plugin useful as it actually has notifications when you open Obsidian, and the process of creating a reminder is simple yet effective. Otherwise, I use to-do lists to keep track of things I need to do throughout the day. If you're interested in an in-depth explanation, be sure to check out my task and project management video. Next, I use literature notes to keep track of my progress of certain inputs. I have different templates depending on what type of input it is. For example, books shouldn't really be consumed in the same way as short articles or podcasts, so my prompts and fields are a bit different for the different templates. If you want, there's also a video on how I take these book notes if you're interested in learning a bit more about my workflow and templates. For the most part though, I just have fields like when I started, when I finished, and some relevant things to keep track of like the link. Also, copied from Brian Jenks' workflow, I have prefixes for the note titles so I can easily organize and search them up. They also serve to help automate the template insertion through Templater. You could embed videos in PDFs, but I just prefer to just view things on the browser or view PDFs using Calibre. Project notes contain my project planning and any relevant resources and organize the different tasks I have into their respective projects. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but this is also elaborated upon in my task and project management workflow video. I like to hoard things, so usually all my notes stay as permanent notes. The only time I'll delete notes are if I'm starting to get a lot of task notes that are cluttering my system, or if I feel like a seedling idea just isn't worth expanding on. I know some people prefer to delete literature or project notes once they're done transferring the information into permanent notes, but I just like to archive them and keep them as a reference. Now that you have a general idea on the types of notes featured in my vault, it's time to get into how I organize and structure everything. The first thing in my system is my inbox. It's self-explanatory, but an inbox is used to quickly capture and sort things to work on them later. I have different inboxes for seedling notes, inputs I need to consume, things to act upon within my vault, and tasks. First off, I use a workbench note to see what notes I need to work on. It has queries to search for seedling, herb, or sun notes that may need future development. Using the workbench plugin, I can run a command to link the current note in my workbench as a reminder. For information inside my vault, I use the reminder plugin I referenced earlier as it's quick and simple. To keep track of my inputs box, I usually use Pocket to easily save any things I want to consume, but I'm planning on switching to Raindrop.io as it has folders you can do some organizing with. To manage the tracking and storage of my inputs, I have a main note for all of them, which are then broken down into their different kinds. To keep track of all my literature notes, I use Kanban lists using data view queries to keep track of everything. In the note, I tag the status of the note with stages including not finished, reading, implementing, and finished. Book notes are separated as I'm more thorough with my book readings, but the note to organize them also has a similar layout and data view Kanban list. I've been reading on my Kindle, so I use the Kindle Highlights plugin to import all my selections into Obsidian, which are all then stored in a single note. However, I've also been trying to incorporate Calibre and its different highlights and annotation capabilities so I can be more in-depth in my notes. I currently use Todoist to keep track of tasks and Habitica to track dailies and habits, but you can definitely use Obsidian task plugins like mentioned in my task and project management video. It's also free and customizable, so you won't have to pay a monthly subscription for features like Todoist. However, I just switched because I switched between 4 different devices, so I needed the easy access Todoist has. I do like to keep my project notes on Obsidian still, and I feel like these, paired with my weekly review, have really helped me stay productive and ambitious. I have a project hub for seeing my current projects, which are then sorted by their timeframes. I also used to have different notes with different searching filters for when I had my task management in Obsidian, as they can make. The main benefit I've noticed in comparison to other note-taking systems is how easy it is to recall and access information. By taking note of virtually all your ideas and forming connections, you won't have to do much retrieval from your brain. To access different ideas, I just use Quick Switcher as I name my notes well enough. By having such easy and varied access to all your information, it makes it easy to think of topics and find content for writings and videos, as all you have to do is organize the information you already have. Another benefit I've also seen is the flexibility of the structure of my notes, as I've found it just truly game-changing. I can have a folder structure while also connecting higher level ideas together. Notes don't only have to be under one hierarchy, they can be connected to a lot of different things. Instead of using folders, I would recommend using hierarchical tags. Anyways, if you found my advice to be helpful, be sure to like and share this video, and subscribe for more Obsidian and productivity related content. This has been John Maverick. Stay mindful.